All right, aloha, kako, everyone, and welcome to our informational session for the 2023 Request for Proposal Hawaii Tourism Authority's Community Enrichment Program and Signature Events Program. And I would like to introduce everyone. So for now, I'm Lonnie Cowie. I'm the project manager for the Kauai Community Enrichment Program, and I'll be your host for today's presentation. And representing the Hawaii Tourism Authority is their Chief Brand Officer, Kalani Ka'ana'ana, and Brand Manager, Didi Hawa. And from Kauai Visitors Bureau, we have Sue Kanoho and Patty Arnellis, Manager of Kauai Destination Management Action Plan. So, and from our Hawaii Visitors and Convention Bureau is our Senior Director of Public Relations and Destination Management Support, Darlene Morikawa. Darlene, take it over.
Thank you, Lonnie, and thank you everyone for joining us today. We greatly appreciate the time that you're taking out of your schedule to be here and learn more about the Community Enrichment Program and Signature Events Program requests for proposals. Today, we'll be going over Kalani will be speaking about HTA strategic plan, as well as going over the Community Enrichment Program and Signature Events as a whole, and diving a little bit into the request for proposals. And at the end, we'll have question and answers. And again, we ask that you keep your question and answers till the end of the, end of the presentation, and we'll take them one by one at that time. We will also be, for your information, recording this presentation, and that will be available on hvcb.org/CEP. And now to speak about HTA strategic plan, we have Mr. Kalani Ka'ana'ana to give you an overview of where HTA is heading. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Darlene. Aloha mai kako. So good to see, excuse me, some familiar names in the participants list. My aloha goes out to each of you. On behalf of John DeFries and our board of directors, obviously, we've been in the news quite a bit lately, and I think most of you have been following it, but I want to stay focused on today's presentation here. This program, or these two programs, the Community Enrichment Program and the Signature Events, are really two pillars, I think, of our strategy that John DeFries sort of summarizes or asks us to put into a call to action, which is Malamaku Uhome. How do we care for our beloved home? And so everything that we do needs to be focused around answering that question. How do we take care of our beloved home? And how do we do so through a regenerative tourism model? And in this case, and in this instance, it's pertaining to these festivals, events, and annual long programs. And so each of you do this work, and this is our opportunity to partner with your organizations to make Hawaii the special place that it is and continue to do so. Next slide, please. Our strategic plan really has four interacting pillars, and the four pillars really are an opportunity for us to build a foundation against everything that we do. And first and foremost, we recognize the importance of our natural resources. If we're not caring for the thing that feeds us, then how do we thrive as a community here in Hawaii? And so we're focused on making sure that we mitigate impacts to natural resources, and also making sure that we make reinvestments that help us preserve, protect, and actually enhance them. Another pillar for us is we recognize, obviously for us as Kanaka, our Hawaiian culture and community are a huge part of us, right? And it's our home. And so how do we make sure that we honor the indigenous culture of this place? And then our third pillar, the community pillar, really recognizes how do we make sure that we're enriching all of our lives together as a community in Hawaii's multicultural society. And so really the three pillars I think of as our home, and what are we doing to reinvest in it? And then the fourth pillar, the brand marketing pillar, is how do we tell our story? Who's telling our story, and what story are we telling, and who are we telling it to? And so really these four interacting pillars give us that foundation and really a reminder for the work that we do and how we do it. And so I know the team will share with you more today about the specifics of the program, but I just want to say on behalf of the Hawaii Tourism Authority and all of our partners that we're grateful for the work that you do. We're grateful for the sacrifices, seen and unseen, that each of you do to put on the amazing events, programs, festivals that you do, that really are, I think, the bedrock of a community, and really bring us and create opportunities for residents to gather, but also visitors to experience that interaction. And so Whether you're emptying trash cans on the day of your event or you're staying up late fixing that flyer in Canva and all the other myriad of tasks like filing your tax paperwork and all that good stuff. A huge mahalo from us at the Hawaii Tourism Authority. And Darlene, we'll turn it back over to you. Mahalo.
Thank you, Kalani. And so what we're going to move right into is Lonnie's going to dive straight into the overviews of both community enrichment and signature events, while starting with the overview of who we are and the difference between the two organizations. Thanks, Lonnie.
Mahalo, Darlene. Let's start with the relationship between the HTA, the HVCB, and the island chapters. And just to let you know that the funding goes through the Hawaii Tourism Authority, and we are administering it with the Hawaii Visitors Convention Bureau, along with the island chapters. Please note, I will be using acronyms during our presentation. So for HTA, it would for Hawaii Tourism Authority, it would be HTA, Hawaii Visitors and Convention Bureau, HVCB, and the island chapters for Kauai, for instance, would be KVB or IC for island chapters. And next slide, please. So this is the vision of our program for Community Enrichment Program, which is SEP, and it is to provide unique, authentic, and highly valued visitor-related experiences, and represents activities that are developed by our community, for our community, and are things the community is willing to share with our visitors as well. So I want to reiterate that speaking with the Community Enrichment Program and the Signature Event Program. Next slide. So for the SEP, this is to develop new tourism products. And so you hit the target niches, which is the agriculture, culture, culinary, education, health and wellness, nature sports, and volunteerism. And this is defined on page 7, section 2.3. Community support community-based tourism initiatives, support authentic experiences, provide economic benefits to the community, and support marketing and promotional efforts with the Hawaiian Islands, and keep in line with each island's brand identity. Next slide. Continued with their objectives is to create activities, events, and experiences to fulfill visitors' expectation of a quality destination, and to ensure a sufficient number of quality, innovative visitor experience, which satisfies the high number of returning visitors and visitors with sophisticated needs. Next slide. Some of the examples that we have funded in the past is like the agricultural tours, walking tours, signage, and as well as film festivals and culinary events. So there's a wide range of programs and activities that have been accepted. Next slide. For the signature events, and this is SEP, it supports major events that have broad appeal and align with Hawaii's destination's image and brand. The program also seeks to support and strengthen existing events in our communities that create new events for both residents and visitors alike. Next slide. So the objectives for signature events is the proposed brand should exemplify Hawaii and its brand. Broad economic benefits to our communities. It should supplement the marketing and promotional efforts of the Hawaiian Islands, and also keep in line with each island's brand identity. On page 10, under project components, which your application will be judged, is a link to the Hawaii Brands document that you can review. Create events, activities, and experiences which fulfill visitors' expectations of a quality destination. Unique to Hawaii's activities and experiences, friendly interactions with residents, variety of activities and experience, cuisine, dining options, good value for your money, And it's a high quality visitor experience as Hawaii sees many returning visitors. Efforts are done to draw the attention of national and international attendees and participants. Next slide. So the program components for the signature events, and it can be the development of new experiences that have not been offered by others, shows an existing project or program that has been enhanced, or innovation of an existing program or event to make it better. Marketing and promotional plan showing the ability to reach the right target audiences to ensure visitor and resident attendance and or participation goals. It's highlighted in the blue right here, and this is the difference between the signature event program and the community enrichment program. So the signature event is with this marketing outreach occurring on a national and international level. It should reflect high media exposure in print, online, and broadcast. Focus on international markets would match the major markets identified by HTA, US, China, Japan, Oceania, Korea, and China again. The proposed event should highlight Hawaii's diversity and host culture. And of course, there should be community support and involvement as evidence of partnerships with other organizations and visitor industry partners. Next slide. So let's review CEP and SEP and their proposal. Please remind you that go to this website, hvcb.org/CEP, and you will find all the documents you need for both RFPs. Next slide. Okay, so we have our informational briefings last week and this morning, and the deadline for submissions of proposal is May 22nd, 2023 at 4:30 p.m. Contract award notification is about estimated the week of June 5th. And the awardees to both programs, there will be a mandatory contractors meeting, and that will be determined later. Next slide. Okay, I will be spending a little bit more time on this slide here to go through the difference of these four programs. And let's first start with Kukulu Ola program and the Aloha Aina program. They are both being administered through the Hawaii Community Foundation. So if you think that your program would fit in these, then go onto their website and look for their RFP. So the difference is, well, both of these programs are Hawaiian culture and community and natural resources. And so both of these programs are reoccurring programs. So they would be going throughout the year. It would just keep on reoccurring. However, that is different with the community enrichment program and the signature events program. So for the signature events program, please look at it as a high extensive marketing media value, and it's a large scale event. And for the community enrichment program, it is also a standalone project or event, and it is between the resident visitor interaction. So if you have visitor interaction, it will fall either in the community enrichment program or the signature events program. Next slide. What program to apply to as it relates to a festival events. So we'll start off with Kauai as example. So for we have the Ekana Kapila Kako, and that's a community enrichment program. And for signature events, we have the Koloa Plantation Days. Next slide. And for Oahu, we had the Okinawan Festival, as well as the Prince Kuhio celebration in signature events. Next slide. And for Maui Nui, there was the Maui Ukulele Festival for community enrichment program. and also the Maui Film Festival for signature events. Next slide. And for Hawaii Island, we had the May, Mele, and Lei month at the Volcano Activity Center. And for signature, they had the Iron Man World Competition. Next slide. Okay, so let's go on to eligibility. And so take a look, and this will be found in section 2. And it would fall into one of the niche markets for SEP, nonprofit organization, 501c3. Your project occurs in the calendar year from June 2023 to December 2023. Must provide services within the state of Hawaii, and no award limited impose, but applicants will be judged on their request and likelihood of success. So please note that smaller events are not competing with the larger events in the evaluation process, as each applicant is scored on their own proposal objectives and fund accordingly. Next slide. Non-allowable expenses. I won't go through every one, but I would like to point out a few. So for B, item B is business or organizational startup plans. We do not fund a startup plan for your business. It should already be in function. C, fundraising events. I, salaries and fringe benefits. This is your normal business obligations, so we do not fund salaries. J is prize money. K is merchandising. HTA funds to purchase goods such as t-shirts, which will be resold for a profit. So some people have asked, well, we are not going to sell our t-shirts, but we would like to have them for our staff members or our volunteers, and that is okay. So P, administrative costs, we would like to reiterate here that administrative costs outside of salary and fringe benefits, only up to 20% of your award money may be used for administrative costs, such as insurance. Next slide. Okay, let's take a test here. Multiple proposals and other HTA programs. So thumbs up would be multiple proposals from same organization for different projects. So for example, the Garden Island Arts Council has 2 projects. One is a Kanakapila Kako, and that one they would apply for the community enrichment program. And they have another program they would like to apply for, and that one would be with Kukulu'ola. So you can have 2 funding, however, it has to be 2 different projects. Okay, so NOCAN, applications to other HDA programs, Kukulu'ola or Aloha Aina for the same project. NOCAN also is a project receives an award from more than 1 HDA program in the same year. And another one too that you cannot is the event project received for the grant and aid funding from the Hawaii State Legislature. Next slide. Matching funds not required, but a factor for community enrichment program. So it is not required. However, if you are asking for a large amount of money, we would like to see more outside support in funding the evaluation that they would like to see with your budget. Next slide. For the signature events program, it is required. So it is required for a minimum of a 1-to-1 in matching fund to the amount of funds awarded by the HTA. So for example, if a proposal funding from HTA is $10,000, then a matching fund of $10,000 is required. So at least 50% of the match must be in the form of cash. So again, propose $10,000. Therefore, at least $5,000 must be in the form of cash. Example, ABC Corporation donated $3,000 and XYZ Inc. donated $2,000, and that would equal $5,000. This would be found in your 2.6, page 7 in your signature events RFP. So matching funds shall not come from other state government sources, including other HTA programs or the HTA's major contractors such as, but not limited to, HVCB or its island chapters. Next slide. Okay. So also required for your program evaluation for signature events program is that an outside contractor will be assigned to your activity to evaluate your overall program. Next slide. Preferred practices. And please go on to visit greenbusiness.hawaii.gov and consider all of the green practices in your program, as well as using the Ma'i toolkit on the HawaiiTourismAuthority.org website. And then also, you want to make sure that you tie back to your island's DMAP. So what is DMAP? It's your Destination Management Action Plan. So go on to this site, which is the Holomua, HawaiiTourismAuthority.org, and you'll find insights to each island's destination management action plan, such as articles on the activities regarding the action items in motion. It is highly recommended to review your island or island's DMAP to tie in with your proposal. Next slide. Causes for rejection of your proposal and failure to cooperate or deal in good faith, late proposals, lack of demonstrated experience or expertise, inadequate accounting systems, and failure to meet the terms of agreement on any previous HTA award. So I would like to emphasize any inability to comply may have an impact on future funding that you may sought. Next slide. Okay, so section 3 is your proposal contents. And you will find this on the hvcb.org/CEP website. There is your application and proposal form, your budget, as well as your board of directors, articles of incorporation or bylaws, and 3 letters of support. And also too is that we will be having an official time of receipt by the date and timestamp automatically recorded once you submit your application. Email, flash drive, paper, and fax submissions will not be accepted. It must be submitted with attached documents. Okay, next slide. Thank you. Use the RFP checklist. So we have provided this for you. So please use this checklist so that you don't forget anything. Next slide. Again, the request for proposals deadline is May 22nd at 4:30 p.m., not 4:31, 4:30. So please give yourself some leeway time just in case there is something that you do need to put in again, and you can get it in by that time and day. Next slide. Okay, so for Kauai, you will email CEP-Kauai@hvcb.org, Oahu, SEP-Oahu, Maui Nui. It would be samithra@mauivb.com. Hawaii Island is SEP-Island-of-Hawaii@hvcb.org. And if you know that your event is going to fall on different islands, it would go to HVCB Central. So that would be statewide, SEP-statewide@hvcb.org. Next slide. Our selection committee is composed of our island chapters, HTA staff, county representative, community, industry, and subject matters. And evaluators will be using the scoring criteria outlined in the RFP. Next slide. And so for the signature events program, it would be the HVCB Central and HTA staff, community, and industry and subject matter experts. Next slide. Okay, for your evaluation, there are 4 categories that equal 100 points. So the first one for the community enrichment program, it's 1 to 50 points for project components. And let's see, you will actually meet your goals and objectives, new project, enhancement of existing project, ongoing experience year-round, and work plan and timeline, and community support and involvement. Next slide. For the signature events program, so I've highlighted in blue again for you. So it's the same thing as the community enrichment program. However, in the blue is the high exposure and alignment with the Hawaii's brand, the Hawaiian Islands, market penetration of Hawaii Tourism Authority's major market areas, highlights stating diversity and host culture. Next slide. Okay, so for both of the programs, you do have the project impact, which is 1 to 20 points, organization capacity, 1 to 10 points, and 4 is the project budget, which is 1 to 20 points. Next slide. We've created a rubrics for you. So if you take a look at this rubrics, it's much easier to understand what you'll need to do and where you'll get the most points, which is, if you look at it, there's 46 to 50 points in the points in the project components area. And the criteria is listed for you there. So that's where the bulk of the points are for your RFP. Next slide. Need any help? Next slide. Points of contact. For those of you, you will have me again for Kauai. You can email me or call me. And for Oahu, we have Taryn Pasqua. And for Maui Nui, we have Sumitra Balraj. And for the island of Hawaii, Michelle Pope. And of course, we have Christy Calabrese, and that would be for your signature events and for all of your community enrichment program that is touching more than one island besides the Maui Nui. Next slide. Okay, so we have questions and answers, and I have Sue Kanoho. Do you have any questions for us?
There are no questions whatsoever. Shocking. You did such a good presentation. There's no questions. So yeah, this is the time now. If anybody wants to ask a question, put that down in the Q&A. There we go.
Okay.
Thank you.
There we go.
If we have several youth horsemanship camps each year, does that count as separate, standalone, or reoccurring? We have resident and visitor, Hawaii culture, and natural resources embedded. Anybody want to answer that?
Dee Dee, can you take that one?
Sure. So what I'm reading is that you have several horsemanship camps each year, and that so it's a series of the same type of project, and that it does have a visitor focus. So if it does have a visitor focus, then you would apply to the community enrichment program. If it's more of culture focused, then you might want to consider the Kukulaola program. But if there is that visitor focus, then please apply to the community enrichment program.
Okay. And the question again, do we have to be a nonprofit? The answer is yes.
Yes. So for the nonprofit, it needs to be a 501c3 and in good standing. And however, if you are not a 501c3, you can partner with an organization with a 501c3.
Right. Can you repeat the calendar year dates? June 2023, which is to December 31st, correct? 2023?
Correct.
So yeah, this is a shorter time period than normal. We apologize for that, but this will only run from June to December of this year. if we apply for SEP, but better qualify, SEP with community enrichment, but better qualify for a signature event, does HVCB move the application over? No, you have to apply. So you would need to apply exactly for what you want to apply for. So nobody's moving anything after the fact. So
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, Sue. Yeah, we want you to determine which program you feel your project fits best in. So you would need to determine that through the application process. And if you have questions about that, you can contact contact your island's community enrichment program contact for additional questions, or the signature events program contact for additional questions.
Hi, Laura. Nice to read your question. Just to focus to what Lonnie said regarding the rubric, I would really focus on the project components. For the signature events, the real things that differentiate itself, it's the public relations, or excuse me, the media marketing part. So you need to be able to account for paid, earned presence, as well as the outreach to the different markets. So if you look at the rubric and you feel that you can get the full or close to the 50 points in the project components, then please go ahead and apply for signature events. However, conversely, if you feel that you can better achieve the 50 points under community enrichment, then please apply there. But look at the project components to help you determine where is the better fit.
And also too, is that just because in the past, maybe perhaps you were a signature event, however, you downsized your activity, your event, then you can apply for the community enrichment program, or vice versa. If you think that you're going to up your game and have a large event and can be into, can go into the category of signature event, that program.
yeah. And then next one, as of May 4th, 2023, if your event is funded by grant and aid from the Hawaii State Legislature, you are not able to submit a SEP RFP. So is that a statement or is that a question? But it says, and then a little asterisk, it says, but can those orgs hosting the event be a fiscal sponsor? Does anybody understand that?
I think the short answer is that if you're receiving GIA funds, that you're not able to apply, because we're not able to double dip, because you're getting funds from both from the government, from the legislative agencies. Yeah.
So it sounds like if you receive grant and aid for your event, you would not be applying for either of these. Next one, if we have to be sponsored by a nonprofit for our event, how is the best way to format the proposal? Do you know, depending on which island you're on, so you could check with your SEP person, Lonnie, or anybody else, Dee, and no matter how you apply, it would just be the same proposal, right, Dee? It's not, I mean, really, the proposal needs to be the proposal. You need to find a nonprofit.
Yeah, so your proposal will lay out what you're proposing your project will be. But in the contact information and organizational information, you'll have who your fiscal sponsor would be, your nonprofit fiscal sponsor, and that information. And then there's also sections on there for who your primary contact would be for that fiscal sponsor, and who would your primary contact be for the project itself. So they can be two separate people, so that we have both the fiscal sponsor contact and your project's contact.
Perfect. Does the project period have to start on June 1st and end on December 31st?
No, it does not, but that's the parameters of when the project can take place. So it doesn't have to start June 1st and end on December 31st, but it has to take place between that time period. So if it's a single event, it would be within that. If it's a recurring project, and I just wanted to clarify that from the first question earlier, it doesn't have to be just single events or festivals. SEP, community enrichment can be a recurring project that's visitor focused, and it has to take place within June to December of 2023.
Yep. I read that if we are not, and I think you mean a 501c3, it says 301, but I think you mean 501c3. We could partner with a sponsor, and I think you mean with the 501c3. Could you explain more, please? So I think when she says sponsor, I think she means how could they partner with the 501c3 is how I take it.
So you have to be a nonprofit organization to apply for community enrichment program and signature events program. So you'll want, if you're not a nonprofit organization, you're a for-profit organization, you're going to want to find a nonprofit organization that has the same values as your organization and what your project will be providing to the community, and work out an agreement with them for them to be able to apply on your behalf as a fiscal sponsorship.
Yeah. I believe you mentioned this already, but I joined late. What is the timeline for dispersing funds? Also, will it be released in chunks?
We are going on a program which is 70% is your initial payment and 30% will be your final payment. However, all of your once you get awarded, all of your deliverables will be the time lapse where we issue your check. So if you're going to take a while to get your deliverables in, the longer your check will be held up.
So that's 2 chunks.
Some of
Correct.
Some of the key deliverables include making sure that everyone is in agreement on the boilerplate that we have be signed, as well as making sure that your insurance is in place by the
Right.
time asked. Those are the key items that people sometimes are challenged with submitting, and until there's others that we'll review during the contractors meeting, but until those 2 key items are submitted and executed, then the invoice cannot be submitted.
Right. Yeah, and that we have had a couple hangups on that, so that's important. Get your ducks in a row before you submit. So next one is for signature events on matching funds. Can the match come from local advertising sponsors who are investing in the signature event?
Would that classify as cash, Dee Dee, or is that in kind?
That would, I think that would I mean, if they're providing a sponsorship,
Dollars.
that would be cash.
So if a title sponsor, say, is spending $25,000, right, and you're asking for 25, that would be a 1-to-1 match, right? That would work.
Yeah, but I guess if the Dee Dee, if you can clarify, if their title sponsor, let's say, is the star advertiser, and their sponsorship is coming through advertising online and in their paper, it's not direct funds. Is that considered in kind, or is that considered a cash match?
That would be considered in kind.
Okay, then that answers the question.
So that is not a cash match.
No.
Would not qualify, in other words, yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that, Darlene.
So no necessary visitor focus. Not necessarily visitor focus, but we have several visitors, mostly resident participants. Yeah, Samantha, we'll talk to you offline. So we know what you're talking about, and you can talk to Lonnie later about your program. It does need to have a visitor interaction of some kind. Given the uncertainty of the HTA budget, is there any chance the grants will not come through? Dee Dee, do you want to answer that?
Sure. I'm as Kalani mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we've been in the news a lot, but rest assured that the funds for this cycle are secured and it will not impact the program for this cycle.
We are looking to have Hawaiian Honey Creeper Celebration Day events on Maui, Oahu, Maui, and Hawaii Island. Focus is community, but visitors are welcome to join in. Does that fall under SEP, community enrichment? Any thoughts, Dee Dee?
Is that SEP or natural resources or
I
Lahaina?
think I would.
Yeah. We would need to know more about what your program is focused on.
Maybe if you could please submit an email to the statewide email address, and we'll we'll double check with the people who administer Ohaina as well as Dee Dee. So that's SEP statewide. So just go on hvcb.org and you can click on that.
Next question, our programs benefit the needs in community, but we are not a nonprofit. Is it okay to umbrella project if an out of state with, I think she means with an out of state nonprofit. So is it okay to be an umbrella project if an out of state nonprofit?
So out-of-state nonprofits are able to apply. It's just the project must take place in the state.
And then Sally, we answered that. What would the payment schedule be? So it's 2 payments, 70% and then 30%. But again, dependent upon you getting the deliverables in. So two payments. How much funding will be in each category? Dee Dee?
The funding amounts will be determined by the selection committee based on the proposals and what the selection committee agrees upon awarding each proposal.
And then Laura, I think we answered your next, I think that was just a statement that you put, Laura. So on the Kona Coffee's Cultural Festival. And then if partners are partnering to do an event, can each partner apply for a grant for that event? Or is it one application per event? For example, one partner in charge of entertainment, one partner in charge of facility operations. Can each partner apply, or do they need to get together to apply?
If it's one event, it has to just be one event, one application.
So to answer your question, you would not submit separate, you submit one only, and then
Correct.
encompass all of your requests in one. Our event is multi-dates, do we qualify?
Yes, you can qualify if it's a community enrichment program. Multi-dates is fine. Like for example, we had Ekana Kapila, and it was 8 Mondays in a row. So that went over 2 months. So it was multi-dates.
Yeah. And then just to confirm, this funding is only for projects and events to be held in this year, 2023, correct? Next one, hi, is there money? Hi, is there money? Based on DeFree's message of 428, he seems to be suggesting that contracts or events are being canceled. So Dee Dee already answered that. And so the money is there, right, Dee Dee?
I'll just reiterate that we've been told that the funds for this cycle of 2023 is secured. It's our future funding is what is still being considered.
Again, if you guys are not getting the answer specifically right this very second, follow up with your respective SEP person on each island.
Also, yep, and there's also a frequently asked question on hvcb.org/CEP, which goes further in depth in addition to the actual RFP that's online.
And would there be reporting required prior to awarding the funds? I'm not sure, Sally, what that means. And would there be reporting required prior to awarding the funds?
Well, we have deliverables. So there's initial deliverables for your initial payment. And then there is the final deliverables, and that's for your final payments. And that's where your reporting will come in.
Okay, next question. If there are expenses that come in January, though event ended 12/31, will these expenses received in 2024 be covered? So it's for the event that happened in 2023, but they're saying an expense would come after that.
There's a timeline that we give you. So we will accept it as long as you meet a timeline that's given to the awardee. It's up to a month after the event closes, or 30 days, excuse me, after the end of the year.
Next question is, Does cultural events include music festivals that are marketed to both the mainland and locally?
Yes.
And when you say, I want to just clarify, to the mainland, meaning it'd still be held in Hawaii, right? Because that, it would have to be held in Hawaii, correct? Dee Dee?
Correct. So, but I read this as it's being marketed to both mainland and locals. Yes, but the event itself has to be held here in Hawaii.
And for the signature events, that's one of the requirements of having broader reach. So that would help in. a
Correct.
signature
For the
event.
signature events programs, again, these are larger scale events or festivals that is being marketed at a national and international level to bring people to Hawaii to attend this event. And then just compared to the community enrichment program, these are projects that our community has created for us to enjoy and is also welcoming visitors to attend.
Next question, can you define and explain resident visitor interaction, visitor focus requirement?
Maybe the simplest thing to do would be give you an example. So one on Oahu is the Honolulu Festival, which in the past has brought visitors from Japan, as well as it urges community support within Hawaii on Oahu. Another event, which is usually a signature event, is the Hawaii Food and Wine Festival that has occurred on multi-islands. So they are asking international as well as national visitors to come enjoy the festival, along as encouraging in Hawaii participation through the different community programs.
And I think the ratio is important as well. So if you had, say, 5 visitors to 100 residents, then perhaps that's not doing a good reach. So anyway, we can talk about that later, Samantha. If you are a nonprofit membership organization, are you able to serve as your own fiscal sponsor? Meaning that if you're a nonprofit, we think you can apply, right, Dee Dee?
As long as you're a 501c3, yes.
Right. And I think they also have to get a tax clearance. Is that right, Lonnie?
Correct. So,
Yes, yes.
In good standing. Does your event have to begin and end within the June to December time period? Can it overlap outside of these dates? And we've already answered that. The answer is no. So it has to be June 1 to December 31st. And if there are contractors or laborers necessary for the project, would paying them be considered salaries and not allowed?
Dee Dee, how do you define salary? I mean, salaries are within the organization, right? And
correct.
if you-
Salaries and fringe would be within the organization. So if you're hiring contracted workers for the for say the setup of the event, the breakdown of the event, that would qualify as long as it doesn't exceed 20% of the overall cost of
the overall ask. Right.
correct.
Is one organization able to apply for each of the 4 opportunities? When you say 4, right now we're talking about 2.
Oh, HCF. So it has to be
the other 2.
Yeah.
Okay. What if
it
you
could?
were-
Yeah,
go
it could be
ahead.
one organization, but you would need 4 very separate projects. It can't be one organization with one project applying to 4.
Right. I hope that answers your question. How many awards will be given?
Again, that will be determined by the selection committee. So each island has its own selection committee made up of different community partners, that island's visitors bureau and HTA. And so each of the selection committees will determine who will be awarded and the award amounts for that. So I don't have a hard number to give you.
Can anybody who's in the webinar chat, we're not answering your questions, so make sure you're putting your question in the Q&A and not in the chat. So we're not looking at the chat, we're only looking at the Q&A. When is the next cycle for these proposals? And I think Dee Dee, you can answer that. We're in.
So we're unsure right now, unfortunately. We would hope to have we're hoping to get back on schedule so that we would have a full year for 2024. So it would be January through December of 2024. However, I don't have confirmation on that, and we'll have to get you that information as things unfold here at HTA.
I mean, if there was, we would obviously do this all over again, right? And let you all know, so. Would an admission or fundraising type of event qualify? The word fundraising, I think, is
No.
a concern. Admission, though, I will say, we have had events that charge a nominal fee, right?
Correct.
So that's allowed, but the word fundraising is not allowed. Can you please show the slide again with the contacts for each island? You want to put that up, Patty? Yeah.
It's also on hvcb.org/CEP. Just go to the bottom.
Proposals are submitted via email ? The answer is yes. So only submitted via the source that's provided for you guys. That means attachments and everything, right, Lonnie?
Right, correct. It shouldn't be your proposal in the body of the email. It should be attachments.
Yeah, so there's a whole, everything's really spelled out quite well. So it's easy to follow, so should be pretty clear. What about grant writers that are contracted? Is that allowed? I think you said approved, but you mean allowed is my guess. That would be allowed under the 20%, right, Dee Dee?
Correct. So it would go under administrative costs, and it can, that combined with whatever other administrative costs you are going to be including in your proposal cannot exceed 20% of the overall award amount.
Yeah. And then Patty, did we miss any? I don't know what we got in the chat over there. Yeah, please utilize your question. I'm just looking in the chat here to see. Please have a question.
I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we're good. Okay. Any last questions before we wrap things up? And Patty, did you want to put that slide?
Oh,
back?
there is one last one. Do festivals need to be 100% free to general public, or a paid ticket is fine? And I think Sue answered that. It can be a nominal amount.
So a paid ticket is allowed. I mean, depending on your proposal, that would be allowed. And then hopefully to offset your costs, right? Last chance. Oh, here we go. What's the total amount available for signature events and community enrichment? Dollar amount?
Did he address that? There's no set amount, but each selection committee will be reviewing your proposal. So we're not sharing a cap or a minimum or a maximum at this time.
That's
Okay,
it.
I think that's it. Okay, so I would like to remind everyone to go on to the website hvcb.org/CEP, and that is where you'll find more information as well as your application. All the documents are all there, and a fax Q&A also there as well. Please remember that your deadline is May 22nd, no later than 4:30 p.m. It will close. Okay, so don't forget to get it in, give yourself some leeway time. I want to say mahalo to everyone who joined us, as well as our panelists. And
Lonnie, I just wanted to say one
Yes.
other thing.
Okay.
Because I saw somebody commenting on the HCF. Hawaii Community Foundation also has the other two grant opportunities. So they do have a different deadline, I believe, Dee Dee, than we do, or Darlene. So
May 24th.
yeah, May 24th, and I'm not sure the time, if you guys know what the time is. But anyway, that all goes to Hawaii Community Foundation. We are only talking about community enrichment and signature events for this, and the deadline that applies to these two events. So remember, if you're applying to the other two, that's through Hawaii Community Foundation. Thanks, Lonnie. Go ahead.
All righty. Mahalo, everyone. Have a great week. Aloha.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.